Hello and welcome in this video lecture series. Today we are going to discuss about process-to-process delivery. Process-to-process delivery is a responsibility of transport layer in OSI or TCP/IP model. As we know that hop-to-hop delivery is taken care by data link layer, host-to-host delivery is taken care by network layer, and process-to-process delivery is taken care by transport layer. So basically there are two protocols which is important to discuss while we are talking about process-to-process delivery on transport layer. This is TCP and UDP. So the transport layer is responsible for process-to-process delivery. Whenever we want to deliver a packet or part of message from one process to another, transport layer will be responsible for the same. Two process communicates in a client-server relationship that we are going to see later. So always keep in your mind that the transport layer is responsible for process-to-process delivery. In this diagram, as we can understand that we have a host, we can say it is acting as a sender, and another host is like receiver. These two hosts are connected through internet, means some intermediate devices are there like routers, which is also called as a node. So this node-to-node delivery is taken care by data link layer. Means this is the one node, this is another node. So these are the nodes, host to router, router to router, these are called node. And the delivery node to node will be taken care by data link layer, while host to host delivery is taken care by network layer. And process to process delivery means in this host there will be some process. In the same way, receiver side also so many processes will be running in this host also. So this process to process delivery is taken care by the transport layer. So we have basically three types of delivery: node to node, host to host, and process to process. So as I have mentioned that process used to communicate with each other as a client server model. So here we have a process in a system as a client, and in another system it is acting as a server. As there are multiple processes running in a single system at this host, and multiple processes will be running on the receiver other side. So for the purpose of identification, these processes are assigned with a number called port number. So suppose this sender side we have multiple processes, one process having the port number 52,000 and it is acting as a source port. In the same way, we have multiple processes in the destination. One of the processes having port number 30 and here it is acting as a destination port. Means this process wants to communicate with this process. So as we used to mention the source IP address and destination IP address at network layer, here at transport layer we are going to mention source port number and destination port number with its data in order to forward the same from one system to another system. So here we have data, and transport layer is going to add the information about the source port and destination port. Same way, when the system is going to reply, it is also going to mention this information with its data. IP address versus port number. So IP address basically used to select a host, while port is used to select that particular process running in that host. As we have discussed so many times that if there is a system, whether it's a sender or receiver, multiple processes are running on that system. So when this packet will be delivered to this host by using its IP address, then port number will be used to select the process among so many processes running on that system. For example, here the port number is 30. So when this packet will be received by this host, it is going to check the process having ID 30. Suppose this is the process having port number 30, here some other process is running having port number 54, and here suppose it is 32,000. So among all these processes, it will be delivered to this process only. So IANA has categorized these port numbers into three categories. As we know that source port and destination port in header format is basically a 16-bit field. Means we can have maximum to the power 16 minus 1 value to store in this source port or destination port, and to the power 16 minus 1 is equal to 65535. So the minimum number that we can store in that source port and destination port field is 0, while the maximum number is 65535. And again 0 to 65,535, this range is divided in 3 categories. From port number 0 to 1023 is known as a well-known. It is assigned and controlled by IANA. Assigned and controlled. So what does it mean? Like for STTP, it is fixed. Means port 80 is going to represent STTP protocol only. While in case of SMTP, we have port number 25. For FTP, we have port number 21. So who have assigned this? Port number 21 to FTP, port 25 to SMTP, port 80 to STTP. These are assigned by IANA only, right? So this is the meaning. These ports number from 0 to 1023 assigned and controlled by IANA only. And these are well known. Like in our daily life also we have 100 number for police, dial 100 for police, 108 for ambulance, 101 for fire services. So likewise, we have some well-known port number also. These are popular or well-known. This dial 100 cannot be used by a person for its own organization. It is only assigned by the government. Same way, these ports are also assigned by IANA only. While from port number 1024 to 49,151 is known as registered port number. So these are not assigned by IANA and these are only registered with IANA, not assigned but registered. While from port number 49,152 to 65,535 is actually a dynamic port. Means these are neither controlled and nor registered with IANA. Anybody can use this range for their own purpose. Means a user can use any of these in order to port delivery. Socket address. As we have seen that network layer is going to use these IP addresses, while at transport layer port numbers are used. The combination of both is called socket address. So socket address basically defines a system and in that system a particular process. So it is basically an address of that system and the process within that system. This is called socket address. So let's see the position of UDP and TCP in TCP IP suite. So here we have seen a TCP IP suite where we have physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer and application layer. So as I have mentioned that at transport layer we are going to use this TCP and UDP. Other protocols are also available, but in order to discuss this process to process delivery, here we are going to discuss about TCP and UDP only. While at network layer we have already seen IP protocol is there in the heart of this network layer, while at bottom side there is ARP and RARP, means in between data link layer and network layer. ARP and RARP is there, while transport layer and network layer is having IGMP and ICMP in between. So let's discuss about UDP. The user datagram protocol, it is also known as a UDP, is called a connectionless unreliable transport protocol. So in case of UDP, always remember that it is connectionless and unreliable transport layer protocol. It does not add anything to the service of IP except to provide process to process communication. No other services like access control, flow control, error control would not be there in UDP. So for process to process communication, we have two protocols, TCP and UDP. But again, this process to process communication can be divided into two categories. One is connection oriented, other is connectionless. For connection oriented, we have TCP protocol, while in case of connectionless, we have UDP. So what does it mean by connection oriented and connectionless services? In case of connection oriented, it is necessary that if you want to deliver a message from one system to another system, first it is necessary to establish a connection between these two systems. Then only packet will be delivered. While in case of connectionless services, before delivering message, connection establishment is not compulsory. So connection oriented services you can see like making a phone call to your friend. In order to deliver your message to your friend, first you need to dial his number to connect with its phone. When your friend will pick up the call, connection is established successfully and now you are allowed to deliver your message. When your message is delivered successfully, it is required to close the connection. So by cutting phone call, your connection will be terminated. So this is called connection oriented service. While in case of connection length services, this connection establishment is not required. So here we have user datagram format. So at transport layer, as we know that there will be a data and this transport layer is going to add some extra information which is called header. Transport layer can use TCP or UDP in order to deliver a message process to process. So in case if it is going to use UDP protocol, it will add UDP header with the data. While if it is going to use TCP protocol, it will add TCP header. And how this transport layer is going to decide that whether it should use UDP protocol or TCP? So transport layer will decide the same as per the need of reliability. If reliable service is required, it will use TCP, which is actually connection oriented service. And in case of less reliability, UDP will be used by this transport layer. So here we are discussing about UDP header format. So UDP header format is one of the simplest header format. There is only 4 fields, that is source port number, destination port number, total length and checksum. So only these 4 fields are there in UDP. Now the thing is that source port and destination port will be known. Like if we want to transfer a file from one system to another system, in case of FTP we are going to use the port number for FTP, that is 21. While the third field, that is total length, it will be calculated by this formula. As we know that if it is data and here it is the header 1 at transport layer, then this complete packet including this header also is going to act as a data at the network layer. And now network layer is going to add one another header called S2. So in order to calculate the total length or UDP length, it will be calculated by using this. We are going to calculate the total length of this IP packet and then we are going to subtract the header length of this IP. So this remaining length will be equal to this header plus data, that is total length available at transport layer. While in order to calculate this fourth field, that is checksum, one more component is required, that is called pseudo header. Means UDP checksum is basically equal to UDP header plus UDP data and plus IP header. But as we know that there are some fields available in this IP headers get changed on each and every node. Suppose TTL is going to change on each and every router or intermediate node. So chances are there at the receiving end when we are going to calculate this UDP checksum, it will be different because IP header is get changed throughout the path. So to avoid this situation, instead of using this complete IP header, only some special fields that are not going to change like source IP address, destination IP address, protocol and UDP total length. Only these fields we are going to use here as a pseudo header, and this checksum will be calculated for source IP, destination IP, protocols. Here 8 bits are assigned for the protocol while remaining 8 bits are always 0. This field is actually reserved. While 16-bit UDP length. So for all these 5 fields we are going to calculate checksum along with these 3 fields. Means total 8 fields will be there in order to calculate the checksum in UDP header. Let's understand the same in this example. So here they have shown the 7 bytes of data. Because the number of bytes of data is odd, so we are going to use padding for the checksum calculation. The pseudo header as well as the padding will be dropped when the user datagram is delivered to IP. Means this padding and pseudo header is used just for the purpose of checksum calculation. After calculating this checksum, this pseudo header or padding will not be forwarded to the next layer. Remember this point. So suppose we have a data called testing, T-E-S-T-I-N-G. We have total 7 bytes. So now we are going to add a padding, means all 0 as a 8th byte. So as I have mentioned that we are going to calculate checksum for source IP address, destination IP address, reserve 8 bits, that is all are 0, 8-bit protocol bits, and 16 bits UDP length, that is 15, source port, destination port, total length, and checksum will be assumed all 0. In order to calculate the checksum, initially we will take all the values as 0 and then this data, because checksum is also going to calculate for data plus header plus pseudo header. So here we have data, this is header and this is pseudo header. So how we are going to calculate this checksum? See here. First we have taken this IP address 153 and 18. We have converted this 153 into binary format and 18 is also in binary format. Then 8 and 105. So this is basically a source IP address. Here we have destination IP address 171, 2, 14 and 10. Then 8 bits all are 0 and 17 is going to represent the protocol. So 0 and 17 is there. Then 16 bits for UDP length. So by using this 16 bit we are going to represent a number 15. So here we are going to represent 15. So this is length field. Then these are source and destination port number. This is UDP length. Then checksum, initially we have assumed all bits are 0. And then this data, T-E-S-T-I-N-G. So capital T is basically represented as this string as per its ASCII number. So all these characters will be changed into binary string as per their ASCII value. And at last 8 bits are added as a padding. Now we are going to calculate the sum of all these bits and the ones complement will be treated as a checksum. Now this checksum value will be stored here in this place before forwarding it to the IP. So this is how we are going to calculate the checksum in case of UDP. So in the next lecture we are going to see what is TCP header format in order to understand each of them in detail. That's all for today. Thank you.